Okay, so we are going to talk about fear and anxiety, two ineffective emotions, right? So, first thing, two things that I have shared with you on the onset of today's presentation. One, we'll try only to perceive things and not judge them. We will attach labels to them, but we will not attach our subjective evaluations of them. But being teachers, we have got so used to evaluating things, testing things, marking them as right and wrong. Just let's just confine that to the test papers, and let's not kind of generalize it to real life situation. That's the first thing, right? And second thing, we are going to overcome the dichotomy of right and wrong, good and bad, right? We are just going to accept things the way they are, right? We call it living in the hukam. Hukam is a beautiful word. Hukam is, what the divine's will is, isn't it? So whatever is coming to our life, that's what psychology says, to be in the state of flow, right? So whatever comes our way, whoever comes our way, we bless them to the highest good. We bless them for the greatest good, and we bless the challenges also because they give us an opportunity to become stronger. We bless the people who in some way or the other have harmed us, right? Because that was also an opportunity to learn. They also kind of came to us as certain experiences, and because of those people, we grew in some way or the other. So precisely I want to tell you that, since God has created it all, correct? So nothing can be negative actually. If it is His will, how could it be negative? What is negative? Negative is something which is not suiting our perception, which is not suiting our expectation, isn't it? Negative is something which is not very comforting to us. So basically, we believe ourselves to be the sun, the cynosure, right? We believe ourselves to be the center of the universe. So anything that does not go our way is negative. But we don't realize that, this divine plan, everybody has a role to play, and it has something for everyone. And we also are His chosen babies, His own chosen children. So whatever He is sending us, whatever He is making us encounter in our life, it has come to us because there is a message in that, right? So let's be open to that message. And we will only be open to that message when we stop, labeling it as negative. When you say that's negative, you shut down yourself to that, right? So we are going to be more open, more accepting. We are going to be more conscious, aware of whatever is happening, and keep taking it in the stride and live life king size. Like that's what is my little understanding of life. If you feel if it makes sense to you, you can always kind of accept it and try at least living on this simple fundamental. If you feel no, it doesn't work well for you, absolutely fine. Like we all have the right and we all have the freedom to go ahead about things the way we desire. Okay. All right. Now, starting with this little session, this small session on dealing with fear and anxiety. Okay. Now, what's the purpose? Whenever a crisis, a difficult situation happens, whenever a challenge happens, it kind of derails us. Correct. I mean, we find it very tough to deal with that. So the purpose of this interaction is to help you learn those skills that you can, efficiently deal with anything that comes your way. And let's understand it that whatever has to happen has to happen. Whatever situations, circumstances, people we encounter, we have to encounter. Isn't it? We can't really change much about the external circumstances, the external situations, right? All that we can do is learn to deal with those situations, right? And whenever we are learning something, we are modifying something, we are being open to change. So anybody, they say that today's illiterate is not that person who has not gone to school or who does not know alphabet or letters. In today's era, illiterate is one who can't unlearn and then relearn, because the world is changing at a pace like never before. Whenever there is a change, it unsettles us, right? It destabilizes us. Now, how quickly do you gather yourself back, right? And start responding to that situation in a manner that you start taking advantage of that situation is the key. We all have suffered huge losses, during this COVID situation, during lockdown and everything. The losses varied from financial to emotional to psychological to relational to so many different. But there had been companies, one of which is Razorpay. So that's an online wallet kind of a company. They become a unicorn company within these 6 7 months. So imagine how this online company it utilized and this particular situation to their advantage, and they grew like astronomically. Financially, they grew astronomically during the 6 7 months, while so many of us are struggling to just meet two ends meet, right? So any situation is just a situation. It is our perception of that situation and then further our evaluation of that situation that kind of creates negative or positive understanding of that situation. And once you consider it to be a negative situation, we start faltering and we start feeling that, oh, how will I do? What will I do? Correct? So again, it is all about thought. It's all about perception. It's all about how you decide to understand what is happening around you. Yesterday also I told you there are always two realities, a subjective reality and an objective reality, right? Objective reality is what is happening and subjective reality is how we perceive it and understand it, right? So today, again, I'm going to talk about the subjective understanding of the situation. Okay, we always have been thinking that, we are logical beings, but let's understand that we are biological beings, right? We are biological beings means we are basically ruled and controlled by our biological makeup, right? Yesterday also I talked to you about autopilot controls and conscious controls. So basically, we are controlled by the autopilot systems within our bodies. Any of you who has come from science, if you've done basic, biology, there is a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system which works on its own, right? All that we need to do is put food in our mouth, chew it and engulf it. After that, it's body's job and everything is done autonomically. You don't have to tell your stomach and your liver and your rest of your bodily organs to do the needful. So basically, we are biological beings. We have to learn to become logical beings, right? It's human to feel emotions. Emotions are not villains, right? They are innate and natural processes. And they are very, very important for our survival. Why are they important for our survival? Because they prepare us to deal with the emergencies through fight or flight response. If we don't fight or flight, what will happen? We will freeze. Yes? Okay, tell me one thing. What does the pigeon do when he senses a cat or a danger around himself? What does a pigeon do? Yes, he freezes. हम कहते हैं ना कबूतर की तरह आंखें बंद कर ली. What does an ostrich do? Do you know that? He hides his face in the sand when he perceives danger. So what happens if you're freezing, right? In any kind of challenging situation, during a threat, if you're freezing, what will happen? You're going to die. So emotions, energy in motion, I told you yesterday also, it energizes us so that we are able to handle that situation in the most appropriate manner so that at least we could survive and come out alive through that situation. So emotions energize our behavior. So emotions, they energize us so that we can come out alive from a given situation, or else that's the end of us, finished. So you can very well imagine how important emotions are for our survival, right? But then there's this big question, then why do emotions become problematic? Now you're going to remember this forever in your life, that these 3, 4 things that I'm going to share with you now, right? Because it simplifies life for ourselves and for everybody around us. So we have learned that some emotions are acceptable and others are not, isn't it? In the process of socialization, so many times we are told boys don't cry. So many times we are told girls don't do this. You don't cry. You don't shout. Yesterday, Akanksha puts it very beautifully when she says that, anger is one of the least resolved emotions. It is the least processed emotions, because the moment you are angry and you are young, you are told to shut up, right? Don't open your mouth. Don't talk to me like that. So what happens? You keep accumulating that anger inside. So we understand that this is not acceptable. So what happens in due course of time, we do not know what to do when we are experiencing this anger inside us, correct? So if you are parents of young children, and if I say young, a child till the age of 21 is young. You can work on these children. Their brain is still plastic. They are still receptive to whatever you are telling them, provided you know how to talk to them in an age appropriate manner, right? So if you have children in this age till 21, you can help them process their ineffective emotions in a better manner. How? By, acting out and playing as a good role model. I'll give you a very simple example. So let's suppose your child is shouting at you, is really annoyed. What do you say? Don't you dare shout at me. Lower your volume, right? So a 4-year-old will lower the volume. A 14-year-old is going to, kind of go back to you and pounce back at you and tell you, look at the way you are shouting. Okay, so the decibels keep going up and up and up and up, and relationships are strained. So if a child is shouting and yelling, I gave you this whole conversation how it has to be handled yesterday, right? Now it is very important that the parent has the patience to listen to what is going on in the child's head and allow him and provide him a secure base that he can express himself, right? However, I told you yesterday, be very clear as parents, any emotion is acceptable, all behaviors are not. If the child is being rude, you have to tame him and tell him that's not the way you express your anger. I'm ready to listen to anything and everything, but don't forget that as an individual, not as a parent, but as an individual, I deserve respect, and you're not going to cross the line. Okay, so in the process of socialization, lot of emotions have been labeled as unacceptable, and unfortunately, we keep on experiencing these emotions, but because we are biological being, but we don't know what to do with it. How do we handle it? How do we manage ourselves when we are going through it? Now, when we reject emotions within, we disconnect with that part of us inside us, isn't it? So you're feeling angry, but you know it is unacceptable. So what do? You keep rejecting that emotion, right? And what you start doing, you start denying or suppressing that emotion, right? So if I'm angry, my husband comes, my friend comes and asks me, you're looking upset, you're looking so fuming. Why? No, I'm not upset. Angry? No, I am not angry. I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Like, we don't even admit that we are going through a troubled emotion. Why? It is unacceptable, right? So we deny it, we suppress it. What are you doing? You're suppressing energy. When energy is being suppressed, what does it cause? It causes dis-ease. More and more and more and more dis-ease getting accumulated over the years. What does it become? Disease. That's how unprocessed emotions are major causes of lifestyle diseases. Why do you think diabetes, cancer, Cardiovascular diseases, pulmonary diseases are on a rise because this generation of ours, despite the fact that we are living in the most comfortable time in the history of human existence, yet we are going through emotional turmoils, we are going through stress, we are going through anxiety day in and day out because the chatter does not end here. So what will it lead to? Accumulation of emotions lead to dis-ease. Accumulated dis-ease becomes a full-fledged disease. What is the root? Root is an unprocessed emotion, right? So if you want to live a healthy life, if you want quality of life, learn to deal with your emotions, and that's what this particular session is all about, right? So we started rejecting the emotion. Why do we start rejecting the emotion? Because nobody's accepting it. You have been told to shut up, shut down, keep it to yourself, go wash your face, then come back and talk, right? And ultimately, we start judging and criticizing and rejecting those people and ourselves when we are experiencing those emotions. So there is someone, who's always angry, right? So we don't hold that person very high vis-a-vis, his character and his existence is concerned. Acha, that one, oh, he's always like this. Oh, that one, he's always cribbing. Oh, that one, she's always, off. You understand my point? So our communication, that person, our interaction with that person reduces, right? So instead of, addressing that emotion, we reject that person, we criticize that person, and we just leave that person alone to fight and struggle with the emotion all by himself. Okay, now look at this. When we face difficult situations, we experience three disabling emotions, right? Fear, sadness, and anger. Okay, so there are people who go through difficult situations with a lot of courage, right? With a lot of clarity. Okay, however, majority of us, when a difficult situation comes, when a challenge happens, when a stressful situation happens, there are three reactions to it: either fear, sadness, or anger. I mean, nobody is evaluating you, as I said. It's just that we are assessing ourselves, because once you know where do I begin my journey from, right? Once I'm conscious of my internal states, it's easier to work on them. That's about all. And when our team works with all of you, we don't do a khana purti here. We really want that you experience whatever is going on, rather than just taking it as a theoretic lecture. Gather that piece of paper, you call it a certificate, and get over with it. That's not our intention. I do not know about yours. I mean, again, you are a human being, and you have every right to choose however you wish to choose. Okay, get familiar with your emotions. What is fear? Fear, again, is an innate emotion, right? Where we are dreading, we are scared of a known object, right? So if I'm scared of a snake, if I'm scared of, say, heights, right? I know what is it that I'm scared of, correct? And fear is a contemporary emotion, right? Like, if I see a snake in front of me right now, I will feel scared, isn't it? If I see maybe, if I see a stranger walking into my house, I will feel scared now, correct? So, and fear is important. Dar acha hai, okay? Dar kyun acha hai? Because again, fear makes us respond to a given situation, or else I freeze and I'm dead, finished. Irrational fears are called phobias, right? So when I'm scared of things which are otherwise innocuous, which are otherwise, harmless. So I'm scared of a bucket of water now, and I've stopped bathing because I have hydrophobia, right? That becomes phobia, and that's where you need a professional help. On the other hand, when we look at anxiety, The funniest thing about anxiety is that it is fear of unknown. You don't know what you're scared of. In fear, you know what you're scared of. In anxiety, I don't know what is it that scares me. So basically, in anxiety, I'm worrying about uncertainties. So most of the time, when you're scared about your future, you are feeling anxious, right? Uh, Anxiety is a bunch of unprocessed feelings. Sometimes, you tell your spouse or your friend or your colleague, there's something this is happening to me. What is happening? I do not know what is happening to me. So there is nervousness, there is fidgetiness, and there is uneasiness inside you, but you're not able to pinpoint that uneasiness. Okay. Whenever you're going through this kind of an emotion, understand that you're going through anxiety. My subject has told me, it has taught me that unless we are conscious, we are aware of whatever gaps we are experiencing, whatever emotions we are experiencing, whatever experiences we are going through, unless we are aware of that, we can't do anything about it. Right? So, for my first responsibility as a professional is to make you understand that first, be aware of whatever is going on inside you. When you say, no, I don't know, that clearly means that you're not in tune with your body, you're not in tune with your mind, you're not in tune with your vibrations. So, very first thing, awareness, right? Second, acceptance. That fine, yes, it is happening. Okay, it is happening, right? So we don't fight it, we don't resist it, because when you resist anything, it increases in its volume. Anything you resist, right? It exaggerates and it aggravates. And certainly, my dear friends, we don't want to exaggerate or aggravate our fears, our anxieties, our sadness, and our anger. So the first step to deal with any ineffective emotion is awareness that yes, this is something that's happening to me, right? Second is acceptance, right? First is it is happening. Second, yes, it is happening. Third, like, okay, now what do I do about it? Then, the therapy starts or the process of overcoming that particular thing starts. Till the time we are in a denial, I'm sorry, not the best therapist in the world can help you. Let's be very sure about that. Meet anxiety. If anxiety were a character, this is how this would have been her characteristics. This would have been her personality. First thing that you understand about anxiety, she lies to you. Okay? And she makes you believe in a situation which has not even existing. Right? Okay. Now let's understand this. Now all of you are attending this call. I'm sure that means you are working in a particular college or university or somewhere. Okay. And suddenly, thought starts coming into your mind. Oh, there are a lot of people losing their jobs. What if I also lose a job? I also lose my job. Correct? So what did you do? You created a situation in your head and now you're fearing that situation. You have a job, my dear friends, right? You're still an assistant professor or whatever other posts you're working on. But in your head, you have started playing a story which tells you, what if the job is gone? Because other people's jobs are at stake, even my job is at stake. Correct? That's the first thing that she does. She makes you believe into terrible kind of situations. One. Two, anxiety has the capacity or the ability to take these situations to their logical worst ends. Imagine, not only will it make you feel that you're losing your job, she'll make you feel all my money would be spent. There will be no money left in my account. What if I have to sell my house to kind of meet the ends? I will completely be bankrupt. I will have no future. I'll be on the road. I'll be homeless. You understand? It is so catastrophizing. It exaggerates the situations to such an extent that, you start believing that the worst is going to happen. If you remember that story that we used to hear, that there was this tiny chicken who was sleeping under, an oak tree, and a little acorn fell on his head, and he started running like a headless chicken all over the forest. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. And then everybody else started, chasing, following him. Sky is falling, sky is falling. Tiny acorn became the whole sky, my dear friends. That's what anxiety does to you. Not only does it do this, the next thing that it convinces you thoroughly into is that the situation is permanent. There's nothing you can do about it. It is going to remain this way forever. I run an academy, and the academy is shut down for last 7 months. Not a penny earned, but we are paying our rents. We are paying little salaries to people who are working with us. Can't just let them go like that. Where will they go? Where will the peon go? Where will the safai wala person go? Right? We do not know till when this is going to happen. This is going to remain this way, right? Every time we feel little restless and everything, we tell ourselves, we are 3 people together in the academy. We are 3, founders, you may say. We tell each other, it's not going to be the same forever, no? Never mind. We have earned for 20 years or 15 years or 70 years. Okay, one bad year financially, but it will go. And the moment it goes, students are going to come back and we're going to run classes again. And okay, we are going to make up for these financial losses, isn't it? And we also tell ourselves that it is time for this year is important. For this year, it is so important that you survive, that your parents remain alive, that your children don't, get the infection. That is more important. In this particular year, finances cannot be a priority. We have enough savings that, we can bring 3 meals on the table each day for another 6 months or 8 months. God is very kind, right? So we will cut down on all the fringe expenses that we are having. No travel this year as it is because of Corona, no eating out, right? No new clothes, no shopping. You can cut down on those expenses, right? So whenever there is a difficult situation, rather than allowing that situation to engulf you and, kind of start eating you up from within, deal with it, yeah? Logically deal with that situation. And no situation is permanent ever. Other than our Father in heaven, nothing is absolute, nothing is permanent. It's all relative, it's all temporary. Okay? And then finally, what anxiety does to us, it does not let you savor anything. It does not allow you to think about any good thing that has happened to you in your life. Okay, so now understand, it takes the things to the worst logical ends, and even before that it make you believe that certain things will happen. Abhi hua nahi hai. And then it makes you feel that the situations are permanent, and then finally it tells you that you can't think of anything good that has happened to you ever in your life. So what is the result? The result is that you identify so much with this anxiety that you become one with the anxiety. You diffuse yourself with anxiety. And what do you say? I am anxious. I am a worrier. I am underconfident. I am shy. So when you become one with anxiety, whom are you going to deal with? How will you deal with anxiety? Because you diffused your identity into anxiety and you became anxious. Right? So the problem is we can't extract, externalize, or work on an emotion or an issue when we are diffused, we are one with it. I hope you are able to understand that, right? So what do? We don't say I am anxious. What do we say? This is anxiety, right? We don't say I am scared. What do we say? This is fear. What are you doing? You are separating yourself from the emotion. You're not the emotion. You don't say this is, I am my hand. You say this is my hand, right? You don't say glass. You say this is a glass. So why do you say I am anxious, I am scared? It's an emotion. No? You are just kind of accommodating that emotion in your biological being. You're not one with that emotion. So you disconnect, right? You liberate yourself, separate yourself from anxiety, fear, sadness, and say, okay, I'm watching you. I'm looking at you, Miss Anxiety, Mr. Fear, Miss Sadness, right? We are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts, right? We are consciousness. So you are conscious that something is going inside you, right? You step away from this circus, this drama that is happening around you, inside you, and you watch it happening and you say, oh, I'm aware this is happening. That's what I said. First step towards understanding, or first step towards change is acknowledging, being aware that something is going on, right? So we experience emotions, my dear friends. We are not our emotions. That's very, very important to understand if you really want to get rid of all this emotional drama that is happening in your life. Okay, now the question is, how do we deal with this anxiety? Okay. First thing is, talk to the character. Second is, reframe the emotion. And third is, mind your ants. I think yesterday also I talked about it, but I'm going to talk about it again today. We will start with the rule number 1, that is, talk to the character. First thing, never dismiss your emotion, right? Don't repress your emotion, right? Don't reject your emotion. And don't even try to distract yourself from the emotion, because anything that you dismiss, anything that you distract yourself from, you're not addressing that issue. You're every time keeping it on the back burner. Okay, I'll look into it later. Okay, I'll see you later, right? What you got to do is you ought to have a dialogue with that character. And you can do it now. Why? Because you're not anxiety anymore. What are you doing? You're experiencing anxiety. Yes, you're feeling that anxiety. You are not anxious yourself, right? So dispute these inaccurate thoughts. Okay. Now the question is, how do we dispute these thoughts? Talk logically to it. 3 days ago, Akanksha said something very, very practical, something very relevant as far as emotions are concerned, right? Any emotion that we experience, it has come with a message. It has come to convey us something. Please understand that, right? If you're feeling scared, if you're experiencing fear, right? Fear is telling you that, you are psychologically or physically unsafe in the given situation. I don't feel scared with my husband. I don't feel scared when I'm in my house, right? I don't feel scared when there's so many people together. Correct. I would only feel scared when I'm all by myself in the house and I see a stranger all covered enters my house. That's when I feel scared. So my fear is telling me, babe, you're not okay. Do something about it. Right? So, we have to understand that the emotion has come to convey something. Right? Talk to it. And ask for, and again, try to be aware what has it tried to come to explain us. First thing. And once you have understood that, okay, this is the matter, then you tell the emotion, okay, thank you so much for protecting me. Thank you so much for warning me. Thank you so much for guiding me. Your job is done. You may go. Now it's between me and the situation. Thank you so much for that. The problem is we allow the emotion to engulf us. And yesterday I told you, emotions are autopilot modes of our biological existence. it has a lot of power, right? It has a lot of energy. So what does it do? It consumes the logical mind. It consumes the rational self of mind. Okay? But once you allow logic to take over, okay, you always tell you always tell your anxiety, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for forewarning me. Thank you for making me have a forethought about, my finances or my relationships or whatever. But let your logical mind tell you that the situation is not going to be permanent. Even this shall pass, right? So get logical with anxiety. There's a beautiful story around this. There was this king who tells one of his noble men in the court that, just give me one quote, just give me one line that I can keep with myself that can help me go through all the good times and bad times in an equanimous in an equanimous manner. So he scribbled something on piece of paper and he handed out that piece of paper to the king, right? So when the king was sitting on his throne and everything, so he read, the quote was, even this shall pass. What does that mean? It simply means that today the situation is good. It is in your favor. You are the king. You are the owner. You are all potent, all powerful, but the situation is not permanent, right? Even this can pass. Imagine if you have heard of Mahabharata, if you have heard of Ramayana, the day, Rama was to be given that throne of Ayodhya, unfortunately, he was given exile, right? And he had to leave Ayodhya to live in a jungle like an ascetic. Look at the irony of the situation. So nothing remains forever. The so-called good, bad, the so-called pleasant, unpleasant, the so-called positive, negative, which we discussed in the morning, right? That any situation is there for a very brief period of time and it's going to go. It's going to stay with us for as long as the divine wants it to, for as long as we have not learned to deal with it. And once you have learned to deal with it, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore because your perception of the situation has changed, right? So what we need to do is we have to empower, we have to give power to our logical mind and kind of thrash it out with anxiety. Then what's your problem? Okay, your job is done. You'd come here to tell me something. You'd come here to share something with me. You did it. Go. Because I understand it's not permanent, because I know you have this capacity to catastrophize everything, exaggerate everything, and take everything to its most dreading end. That's you. But I'm not going to buy it this time. I'm not going to take it this time. And I'm just going to live in this moment. You are making me fear something that has not happened yet. You're making me fear something which is a self-created story in my head. But I'm wiser. I know the reality, I know the truth, right? And I'm not going to get bogged down with the stories that you are creating in my mind. Now, learn to disengage with your emotions, right? How do we disengage with the emotion? The first thing is stay calm. You must have heard of that story, no? Buddha and the fellow monks, they crossed a stream. So when they crossed a stream, obviously, it disrupted all the mud that was there, settled at the bottom of the stream. So when all of them, they crossed the stream became very muddy, right? Buddha took it as an opportunity to share a beautiful lesson with his fellow monks. So he told one of the monks, just go get a glass of water or one bucket of water from that stream. When the monk went there, he saw that the stream was all muddy, right? Because there was a lot of commotion that happened. So because of the commotion, everything got unsettled. So there was mud, there were gravels, there were tiny pebbles, everything disturbed. So he came back, he said, the water is not worth drinking. It's very muddy. He says, go back and just wait for some time. So he took all the monks together. They sat by the stream for a few minutes, and gradually, all the mud, all the disturbance settled. When everything settled, the stream became crystal clear within few minutes, right? So if you really want to enjoy a crystal clear, peaceful flow of life, learn to stay calm, learn to have patience. Now the question is how? When you accept things the way they are, you become calm and patient. So if your spouse is not very cooperative, instead of fighting with that person, you just accept, okay, this is how he or she is, right? If your boss is a little, nasty and narcissistic, or he's sadistic, you make peace with it that this man is like that only. It's not just with me, it's with everyone else, right? Imagine it becomes so much lighter. Life becomes so much easier. And I am really advocating this because I have lived the other side, the other way of life also. And now I'm in a different state of mind also. I know the difference. Yes. And I would really love all of you to experience this kind of a life where, there are fewer worries, where you're calmer, you're happier, you're in a more peaceful state of mind, right? So life becomes a beautiful journey this way. Okay, so first thing is stay calm. Second thing is stay informed. So what am I doing? I'm just giving you information about the emotions that, okay, look, when you're anxious, this is how it feels. If it feels like that, it's okay. Just deal with it in this particular manner, isn't it? So you're getting all the information to deal with the emotion. And third important thing, take responsibility. You are your own responsibility, isn't it? I mean, you can't keep telling people, you made me angry, you made me sad. God damn it. We talked about, this remote control thing yesterday. And all of you said that we want the remote control in our hand, right? So you have to take charge of your life by telling it to yourself that, okay, I'm going to be more aware and accepting and acknowledging of my emotions. And now that I have attended the stress management course, I feel more empowered and more informed how to deal with these emotions. And every time I am encountered, I'm hit by an emotion, I know how to manage it. And let me tell you, it's not that anybody who is calmer and happier and more peaceful does not experience troubled emotions. We all do, because we are human beings. Yeah, we're no stones. The only difference is that a person is happier and calmer. He knows how to deal with it. That's it. And welcome to the club. You're getting all the tools. You're getting all the skills, which you desire, which you need to deal with such troubled situations, right? So I think you got to express a lot of gratitude to Knitter, because it's because of them that we are together, and all the resource people are, able to share their knowledge with all of you. Okay. Then we say, mind your ants, right? Fear and anxiety are emotions which are results of automatic negative thoughts. Automatic negative thoughts, the negative thinking, the negative thoughts that just keep coming to us. We have not invited them. We have not put in a conscious effort to think in that manner, yet they keep coming to us. Why do they keep coming to us? Because our neural wiring is in that manner. We have been designed in that manner that we remember negative things more than positive things, right? That is the evolutionary history, or that is I would say, the evolutionary drawback that we are experiencing, okay? These thoughts are not created by us, but they are like those pop-ups, unwanted advertisements. They just keep coming without our wanting them to do so. So it's important to understand that, thoughts are imaginary ideas in the head. Please, this is another take home. Always remember, Thought is a subjective creation. These are imaginary sequence of events in your head. It is not real. Don't assume them to be real. Mind cannot differentiate between real and imaginary. We have already discussed this in my first session with you, right? So when you have these catastrophizing negative thoughts, anxious thoughts, threatening thoughts, your mind treats them as real. When your mind treats them as real, what will happen? Your pituitary is going to secrete the same neurochemicals that it would secrete when there is a real threat you are encountering. Okay? So, root to fear and anxiety comes from management of these thoughts, automatic negative thoughts. The moment you change the flavor, the connotation of your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts, the whole chemical composition of your body changes. As simple as that, right? Okay, so when we think negative, it leads to emotions and behavioral outcome like palpitation, nervousness, restlessness, heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, we feel fidgety, we feel nervous, right? Now, when you start feeling this, what do? First thing, be aware of what is happening to you in your body. Okay? The moment you become aware, what does awareness do to you? The logical brain shows supremacy over the automated systems. When the conscious brain takes over, what happens? The intensity with which the automatic processes were working or are working, it decreases, right? So it's like, the junior level people in your organization, they are misbehaving or they are out on a strike and, they are shouting slogans and stuff like that, correct? They are on an autopilot mode. The moment the director of the institute comes, you will see that there is some, kind of quietening, and there is the intensity of that expression, it decreases. As simple as that. Yes. So when we become aware that, okay, this is happening in my body because of the function of the autonomic, bodily processes, the capacity of the autonomic bodily processes to sustain themselves decreases. As simple as that. Yesterday, didn't I tell you that, if somebody is really shouting at you to tell their side of the perspective to you, you just keep shut, keep listening to them with full consciousness, full awareness, and full patience. And after a little while, that noise will be over. And then you say, are you done? Now it's my turn. Now listen to me. And because you have heard that person very well, reciprocity, isn't it? No way that person can tell you, no, I will not listen to you. If he says so, you tell, look, when it was your chance to speak, I gave you full liberty to speak whatever, in whatever manner, in whatever intensity, right? I'm not going to come down to your level, but I'm going to tell you my side of the story as well, right? So same you do to your body. Okay, you want to, express and, you really want to experience arousal, go ahead, I'm watching you, right? And then I have already told you, you never say I'm scared. What do you say? This is fear. Oh, this is fear I'm experiencing. Okay, I'm watching you. I'm aware of you, right? And next step is try to disconnect the bodily reactions from the thoughts. So where you were thinking fearful thoughts and now you are thinking, okay, this is fear, manageable, what will happen? The fuel, yes, the thoughts were acting as a fuel to this emotional arousal. The fuel has been cut down now. It has been reduced a lot now because the conscious processes, the logical processes have taken over. Correct? So when you cut down the fuel, what will happen? There will be a reduction in the energy which was leading to arousal. Yes? And while you're doing this, you keep telling yourself, it's just a thought, it's not reality. Yes? You consciously talk to yourself at that moment, and what do you say? Oh, this is this is fear, that's the emotion. So you have addressed the emotion and now you address the thought by telling it, look, you are just my creation and you are not real. And I know what to do to you and what to do with you. Now, when you're tuned in with your bodily markers, right, what do you do next? You think of pleasant things. You have done this exercise in the first session. I asked you to think of pleasant things, the time you fell in love, the time you had an adventurous holiday, the time you believed in yourself, the time you won something, the time you received something, okay? So when you think of all those pleasant things, what are you doing? You're replacing, you're shoving off, pushing away the negative thoughts and replacing them with positive thoughts. That's where Pramod sir started off today's class with, right? So you don't feed the negative anymore. You're feeding the positive. How are you feeding the positive? By consciously thinking about all the good things that have happened to you in your life. So you reverse this story. You're playing just antagonistic to how anxiety would have played. And suddenly you would experience joyful sensations in your body. You'll experience streams of positive emotions running through your body and mind. And voila, you're suddenly feeling better. Yes, the happier side of you takes over the downside, the negative side, the unhappy side of you, right? So you don't need a therapist, you don't need a professional every day. You can be your own therapist. Only thing is, stay calm, stay informed, and take responsibility. If you take responsibility of clearing off the mess from your head and heart, you can do it. I mean, there is no requirement for anybody else to do it for you. And finally, reframe the emotion. Don't run away, don't avoid, don't get rid of it, don't put it under the carpet, right? Don't distract yourself. Rather, use the emotion to your advantage. Embrace your feeling. Take ownership of the emotion and use it as a catalyst of change, right? You must have heard that story, no? It is about someone, one is Tulsi Das, I suppose, or the one who wrote Ramayana. I'm forgetting the character. So he was so dud to begin with, that he was chopping off the same branch of the tree on which he was sitting. Who was this character? Anybody? Can you?
Who wrote Ramayana?
Valmiki. One of those. I'm sorry. It could be Valmiki. I think it was Valmiki, right? So he was such a dumbo to begin with. He was so dull-headed that he was sitting on a tree cutting the branch, but unfortunately cutting the same branch on which he was sitting. Imagine what he would have done to himself. So his wife yelled, right? Looked up and yelled, "What a moron you are." So unfortunate of me to have, a husband like you, and a lot of things she said. Now, it hit him so hard that he said, "I'll prove you wrong." Right? And that's where the journey of Atma Gyan, of, self-insight began and self-actualization began. And we all read that Ramayana today and we in who he is, isn't it? So we must know how to use an emotion as a catalyst of change. And honestly, I'm not again bragging. I always share my personal experiences and make a lot of self-revelations. When people find faults with me, I really don't mind it. शुरू में लगता था, hit करता था punch, अब नहीं लगता. अब मुझे मैं सच कहती हूँ. I'm being honest to the core. I say thank you. Thank you for telling me what's not okay with me. And I start working on it. And trust me, I have evolved so much as an individual just because, there have been people around me who criticized me, gave feedback to me, right? No intention. They are my own, let's say, my parents, my in-laws, my friends, right? So, and I have taken that feedback, that criticism in a very positive manner because I always saw that opportunity to improve myself in those areas. Smallest of, I would say advice, smallest of observations, I have taken them very seriously, and I've really tried them to incorporate and to use them and work on them. And I can feel that, you know, I've grown, I've really evolved at all levels, at spiritual level, at the professional level, relationships, personal level, right? So use these emotions, whatever you're experiencing, to bring about a positive change. I'll give you a very simple example. So, you know, all of us, we feel anxious before maybe making a presentation, addressing a large audience, right? So there is some bodily changes and we label them, oh my God, I do not know what I'm going to do. Oh my God, there are butterflies in the stomach. There is this, there is that. I have replaced that word anxiety with excitement, right? And I do same with my son also. Before the exam, I always, are you excited? Yes, I am excited. So now whatever is happening inside, it's not anxiety, it's excitement. And when there is excitement, you know, you don't want to avoid that situation. Rather, you want to play with that situation. You want to play full on with that situation. And that's how you are able to give your best in that given situation. Isn't it? So same bodily changes, I change the label. You know? Same expression, instead of criticism, we call it feedback. See, the moment you change the label, the connotation changes, the denotation changes, the experience changes, and the response changes. Right? So, we are very powerful. Let me tell you. We are amazing, brilliant bunch of energies. Please wake up to your potential. Stop playing small. Stop controlling other people. Stop proving you right. And, you know, stop playing one up with other people. Don't do that. You will waste a lot of your energy. You are your own competitor, if at all. Okay? You have to, actually, if at all you want to compete, compete with your own self. And if today you are a better person than yesterday, if you can handle your life situations better today than how you were handling it yesterday, congratulations, give a pat on your back. That's evolution, that's progress, that's development, right? This crazy mad race that we have created, he has this and I have this. He is like that and I'm like that. I mean, that's sheer waste of energy and potential. Don't get into that. That's my sincere advice to all of you. Finally, human beings are blessed with two superb capacities. One is memory, one is imagination, right? Memory is things of past, imagination is future. Unfortunately, we keep on remembering all the, you know, unpleasant things that have happened to us, and we keep on imagining all the worst thing that can happen to us. What a waste of these capacities, right? So stop abusing your potential by sulking about the past and apprehending about future. Rather bless all that unpleasant things that happened in your past because they had come to teach you something, and decide that you're only going to imagine good things about future, right? Rest, the choice is yours, right? Because life is yours, and I mean, it's up to you how you wish to live, whether you wish to live in misery or you want to live in a state of joy and celebration. So I rest my case here.